Struck him out. Pastime, baby! Just play.
The Mariners return home to beautiful Safeco Field. We start a 6-game homestand. It begins with the first of 3 against the Oakland A's. Happy as always you can join us for Mariners baseball on Root Sports. Aaron Goldsmith, Mike Flowers, and our entire Root Sports crew welcoming you inside Safeco Field as we take a look now at the starting lineup for Bob Melvin.
And the A's have swung the bat so far in the first month of the season. They are 3rd in average, 4th in walks. So you want to stay away from the walks with him. Jed Lowry hitting 3rd in the lineup. He is 4th in the American League in average, hitting .339. Chris Davis, the cleanup hitter, leads the team with 7 home runs. And Jonathan Lucroy, the veteran, will round out the 9 for the A's. I'm going to look at Felix this year. His fastball right around 90 miles an hour. Curveball. Actually, he's been throwing the curveball more than his changeup. He'll also mix in a slider. 6 starts so far this year. 4.96 ERA and 32 2/3. He has 26 strikeouts. And a look at the defense. Ben Gamble will get the start in left field. Robinson Cano at second base has yet to make an error, so has really played well this first month. Mike Zunino will do the catching.
Robbie already moving over in the shift. And we got it on for Matt Joyce. Looks at ball 1 to begin things tonight. Good off day for you, Mike?
It was nice.
Get in the yard a little bit?
A little bit today, not yesterday. Okay. How about you?
I was good. Some baseball in the backyard, some yard work as well.
Any home runs in the backyard?
Oh, yeah, after about 50 pitches. One dinger for yeah, it's a poor ratio right now. We're working on it, though. Felix is 1-1 to Joyce. Good curve.
It's a good curveball.
They're ready in Kings Court. An appeal, and he goes. Felix fans the first that he sees.
We mentioned it. He is going to the curveball right away. His curveball, 79, 80 miles an hour. Let's take a look at our Primera Supermo. Joyce trying to check his swing, was not able to do it. Change up for Felix about 85 miles an hour. A slider at 83. Again, his fastball 89-90.
One quick out here, Simeon. And Felix ahead 0-2.
Simeon in his career against Felix, 323 with 4 home runs. A good start this year for the A's. Hitting .275, 24 doubles on the year.
Strike 3 call. Simeon not pleased with that. Back-to-back punch outs by Felix.
3 pitches to Simeon, all of them on the outside corner.
Only Altuve has more hits right now in baseball than Jed Lowry, batting just a notch beneath 340. He looks at strike 1.
You can see the defense. They have the shift on.
Now Felix 6 innings his last time out, a quality start in Chicago. Falls behind a Lowry 2-1. And he faced these A's 3 starts ago here at Safeco Field, worked into the 7th. 2 runs, a season high 7 strikeouts.
Another good curveball. Right at the bottom of the strike zone. 79 miles an hour.
Former Mariner skipper, now longtime skipper for the A's, Bob Melvin. Felix is 2-2. This is cranked out to right. Spins Haniger around at the wall, and it is gone. Number 7 this year for Jed Lowry. And the A's have an early 1-0 lead.
Count was 2-2, and Felix goes to his fastball. It's 90 miles an hour. Ends up in the middle of the plate. Imagine it with Lowry, how hot he has been. Barrels up that fastball.
Now, he's been one of the best hitters for the first month of the season in the American League. Now here's Chris Davis. 7 home runs this year for Davis. 3 of them at the Mariners' expense. Here comes a 2-2. And Felix strikes out the side here in the first. Lowry the homer. We go to the bottom of the first inning. Mariners coming up. Of runs on the road trip, Mike.
Mariners starting lineup brought to you by Jack in the Box, and it will be D. Gordon to lead things off, hitting .309 and leads the American League with 10 stolen bases. Mitch Haniger hitting 6th in the lineup, tied for the league in home runs with 10. And Ryan Healy will round out the 9th. 3 home runs in the last 2 games for Ryan. And 4 Triggs on the mound. He's going to try to keep the ball down in the zone. You look at him overall, 2-0 record, a 4.7 ERA for him, 23 strikeouts over 9 walks. Opponent's hitting .247. Tricks, fastball, slider, curveball, changeup. His average fastball right around 90 miles an hour.
D looking to bunt his way aboard. Triggs gets rid of it quickly, not in time. Bunt base hit, D. Gordon.
And this is about as routine as it gets, unless you have the speed of D. Gordon. Easy play for most pitchers in this league, but he beats it out. Will be a base hit.
He aboard right away. Here's Gene Segura. Base hit in 10 of his last 11 games. He's an average up to nearly 300 now.
Segura at 298. The Mariners have 3 hitters in the lineup hitting over 300. D. Gordon being one, Robinson Cano another, and Mitch Haniger.
He's bunting. 0-1. Now the Mariners taking 2 games out of 3 against these A's on the last homestand. That was back in the middle part of April. They have seen Triggs already once before. 2 runs over 5 innings. Mariners won that game.
They made him work. He had to throw 93 pitches to get through the 5 innings. He's going to try to expand the zone again with his curveball and his slider, throwing both out of the strike zone, trying to get the Mariners to chase.
So that got the knob of the bat, still 0-2. Now there's not a team in baseball that does not want to get off to a hot start. You look at the Mariners numbers overall. First month of the season, 16-11. Second time since 2010 the Mariners have a winning record at the end of April. Back of the glove. Lucroy holds on to it. The defense behind Triggs tonight.
Pretty good curveball there again off the plate. Mark Hannon will get the start in center field. Marcus Semien continue to improve at shortstop. 7 errors on the year so far. Jonathan Lucroy has thrown out 33% of base stealers. So pretty good matchup with Gordon at first if he wants to run.
One out, 1 on for Robbie. He looks at strike 1. But you look at the offense for the Mariners, especially in the back half of the first month of the season, and especially recently with the full lineup intact and the improved starting pitching for the Mariners. We know what the bullpen has looked like. You can see why that record 16-11 entering the month of May. Time call. All series wins for the Mariners on that 3-city trip. I mentioned it at the time, but it's worth repeating that series win, a 4-game set in Cleveland, the first series loss at home for the Indians since last year's All-Star break.
It was impressive, especially if you consider the starters that the Mariners were up against. A couple of them with ERAs, including Kluber, under 2. Carrasco with a 2.3 ERA.
Ball and a strike to Cano.
Or Triggs, he will throw across his body, almost step towards third. That's the reason why he gets tremendous sink on his fastball, but his curveball has been his best pitch this year. Opponent's hitting just 105 against his curveball.
This is crushed out to right to the 380 marker. It stays in the yard. Chad Pender is able to get to it. Cano took that out to the bigger part of right field. And it's out number 2.
And that was on the slider. Look at our Primera Supermo in the swing by Robbie. Maybe he had enough of it right into the corner of the 380 mark.
2 outs. Gordon at first base after the bunt base hit. See what Nelson Cruz can do.
Nelson in his career 3 for 5 with a couple of home runs against Triggs.
Off of Lucroy, but Gordon stays put.
It was a good road trip for Nelson Cruz.
Hard hit grounder to Simeon. The flip over to Lowry, and that ends the first inning. A man left. We go to the second. Mariners down a run. Field on Friday, May the 4th. It'll be Star Wars night as a tip of the cap to Han Solo. Kyle Seager will be featured in bobblehead form as none other than Han Solo. The first 20,000 fans receive this special Star Wars inspired collectible. You can pick up your tickets at Mariners.com. Now Felix struck out the side in the first, but did give up the solo home run to Jed Lowry. Faces the left-handed bat of Matt Olson. Pours over a first pitch strike. Well, so far, he's had no problem getting ahead of hitters, that's for sure.
Yeah, the defense, Mariners with the shift. Rare that you see that in the infield and then the outfield also shading for him to pull. Typically they're opposite. And you see D. Gordon out towards right center.
This is outside. Evens up now 2-2. You know, for the A's, this is the final leg of a 3-city trip. They've been playing well into today at even Steven 500. A's had to run into that Astros rotation.
You mentioned the numbers for Felix against the A's, and faced him earlier on the 15th of April. 6 in the third, a couple of earned runs in that one. He threw 97 pitches, 61 strikes.
Well, got ahead of Olson, now lost him. Very borderline pitch there. It's a leadoff walk to Olson. Run over in King's Court, the turkey leg being given out. That'll fill you up. I'm not sure if that can be finished by those young Mariners fans by the end of this game.
They'll probably share.
They'll give it their best. Here's Chapman. Chapman sure did put on a show defensively last time the A's were in town.
Very good defensive third baseman. Good start. He has some power. See the 6 home runs.
Grounder to his counterpart. Low snare. Tough throw. Cano to first. Double play. Wow.
You cannot do it any better than this. Right down the line. Kyle was playing towards the hole. Backhanded play. Gets rid of it quickly. And the accurate throw again. Easy turn for Robbie. Get him by a step.
That'll take care of that leadoff walk. Now, Mike, I've talked to Mark Canha before. He's a tremendous young man, but is it that cold out?
Yeah, maybe he's been hot lately. Not going to change things up. Degrees at game time.
I mean, it seems like every team in baseball has seen cold so far this year. This feels like a heat wave. Two outs, nobody on. Felix is 2-1. To Seager. A little more routine this time around. And that ends the top of the second. Felix faces the minimum. We go to the bottom half.
I've got your second chance to win. Felix Hernandez, he ranks 46 all-time with 2,371 career strikeouts. That is up to date right now. Use hashtag RootQ2 and tell us who ranks 45th. This is for your chance to win an autographed Felix Hernandez baseball, which I actually have in my hand right now, guys. And yeah, you're going to want this.
Thank you, Angie. First pitch out to center. Can't get there. Seager gets the turn into second base over the fence. Ground rule double. Kyle Seager. That's a nice way to back up a beautiful defensive play by Kyle.
And Kyle being aggressive Fastball running out over the plate. Good extension. Drives it into the gap.
Go ahead run at the plate, Mitch Haniger. And that Seager double, Mike, on the first pitch brings to light an impressive, fascinating trend for the Mariners first month of the season. They're leading the majors, slugging nearly 700 when swinging at the first pitch.
That'll help.
That'll help it go up even a little bit more.
Yeah, they've been very aggressive, and it's worked out for them. They've also hit well with runners in scoring position, hitting .302 as a team. And they're hitting .308. Runners in scoring position.
The 1-1. Out to right center. Pender, the right fielder, makes the catch. Seager making his way, motors into third. One out, a runner 90 feet from home. But now through June 3rd, fans ride free to and from the Mariners game on Link Light Rail. Show your ticket to the game for a round-trip ride on the Link courtesy of the Mariners. The improved stadium station is just 15 minutes from the UW station and 33 from Angle Lake. So check out mariners.com/go for more information. One out, Seager at third for Mike Zunino. Anything you can draw from that, though, Mike? The power numbers for the Mariners when swinging at the first pitch, is that the era that we live in? The guys are more aggressive early?
I think that what we're seeing is a lot of pitchers are really trying to get ahead of hitters, and most of the time it's the first pitch fastball, probably a good part of the plate, and then they go to work on you after that. So I think they're just being aggressive early on the fastball. The A's have their infield in. It's one out.
Seager coming home. He scores easily. Couple of doubles for the Mariners here in the second. This game is all tied at 1.
And the Mariners continue to hit with runners in scoring position. Piece of hitting by Mike. This pitch is an off-speed pitch down, but he stays with it and barrels it up down into the corner.
Surely nearly every hit this year for Mike has been an extra base hit. That just continues that trend. Campbell takes ball 1.
Mike with 50 extra base hits last year, 25 home runs.
Zunino at second, the go-ahead run. Off the plate, 2-0.
On Sunday, Ben Gamble with a base hit and drove in a run. He's looking to build off of that.
Slice the opposite way. Backhand sliding catch, Joyce. What a play. He might have crashed in that wall for sure.
Looked like it was going to be extra bases again. Backhanded play by Joyce. And been straight up in left field. Had to cover some ground.
Joyce feeling that one a little bit. 2 outs, a run in. Zunino at second base for Ryan Healy.
Healy on Sunday, a couple of home runs and a double. Drove in 4 runs and scored 3 times.
Charge out to center. Canna there and plenty of time for out number 3. Zunino ties this game up. Mike drives in his 8th of the season. It began with Seager's double. And then a double for Mike Zunino.
Tuesday, and for your chance to win this baseball autographed by Felix Hernandez, you just need to know the answer to this question. Felix Hernandez is 46 all-time on the list. Who is 45th? Use hashtag RootQ2 and tell us who ranks 45th. All right, guys, back upstairs, and Aaron and Mike, you guys have company.
We got one of the hoppers up in the booth here, Mariners Hall of Famer Dan the Man, as Pinder leads things off here to begin the 3rd. But Dan, as always, man, it's good to see you. How are things?
Aaron, great to be here as always, and things are well. Yeah, things are going very well, and the Mariners smoking off that last road trip. Outstanding.
And you're doing a little traveling down in Tacoma for a couple of days, right?
Yep, saw some games down there, and a chance to take in tonight's game.
Did you see the guys playing well if they were on the road at all?
Yeah, I mean, to me, obviously the offense was the story, and the guys just swinging the bat all the way through the lineup. And you know, we talked about April and just what a great month April has been for the Mariners, and they've really only had their lineup really for the last 4 or 5 ball games. And so I think this bodes really, really well, and I think there's a lot of reason for a lot of optimism going forward.
What do you think of Felix so far?
I think he's looked outstanding. I think I saw some really good movement on his 2-seamer tonight, and thrown some really nice curveballs. And to me, one of his keys is being able to use that curveball, and he's gotten some good strikeouts in that first inning with it.
I thought at this point, after getting through the first month for Felix, 6 starts on the year, to look at the overall numbers and to see that he's actually thrown his curveball more than his changeup. That's a change for him.
Yeah, and I think it plays especially important with the lefties. I think the lefties are so used to seeing that changeup, and they see it a lot. And you know, I think we saw it with Joyce in the first inning, and he got that curveball, and started at the bottom of the zone, let it run break out of the zone like you see right there, and it's a tough pitch for a left-hander. So you're right. When they start to mix up some of their tendencies, I think you get a lot of success with, especially with these left-handers.
I got a quick out number 1 to Pinder on the ground ball out to Segura. Now facing Lucroy, the number 9 hitter. Evans up at 2-2. And we know this much about Felix. He has just continued to evolve. You talk about the usage of his curveball. King scored hoping for strikeout number 4 tonight. Robbie calls for it. 2 outs.
We were kind of marveling over on the radio side at the double play that Kyle Seager started. I thought the ball was a double off the bat. For him to get to the ball, first of all, then be able to get a strong enough throw to second base as he's running toward the line, and then for Robbie to be able to turn it. That was really an outstanding big league play.
I think Kyle, as far as third baseman go, I've talked about it many times, is just typically when he's able to get to the ball, how quickly he gets rid of it, and he always hits Robbie right in the middle of the chest.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's off balance like on that play, Dan. He's just as accurate as anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah, and as you know, as a third baseman, that's not easy to do. And you're right. When you're throwing off balance as much as you do at third base, running the backhand, there's really hardly any time. Not a lot of times the ball's hit right at you. You're usually off balance. He's able to make those accurate throws, and that was just an outstanding play.
Now there's a reason he's got gold on that glove. 1-1 now to Joyce. Joyce, the first strikeout victim from Felix today. Fouled off to make it 1-2. Now Felix has gotten to 2 strikes on nearly every hitter so far. It's 1-2 to Joyce. Another foul ball. Now Felix in a bit of a nice groove now. 3 runs or fewer each of his last 4 starts. That includes his start earlier this year against the A's here at home. Just 2 runs over 6 1/3 last time out against Oakland. Clubbed down by the pole in right field. A foul. Comes pitch number 7 to Joyce. That finishes him off. 4th strikeout for the King, who's faced 1 over the minimum. And we got D. Gordon, Gene Segura, Robinson Cano all coming up. we open up the bottom of the third. D. Gordon leads it off, facing Triggs. On the first pitch, out to the gap, into right center. Pender having a chug after it, can't get there. It's the third double today for the Mariners.
And that's probably a bad break for the Mariners. That was going to be an easy triple. If it hits the wall, instead of bouncing over the wall, it would have been a triple for D. Continues to swing the bat well. Barrels it up. His second base hit came into the game hitting .309.
Talked a lot about this field and right center. You see the fans out there in right center making a nice catch on that bounce, but Mike, typically the ball is always kind of carried that way. It looks like the ball tonight, Kyle struck that ball very well, but it is getting out there and carrying pretty well to that part of the ballpark.
That brings up Segura. Segura thumps this foul over towards the court.
Great to look at the Mariners, and after the first month, and runners in scoring position, hitting .302 as a team. Wow, that's great.
That's unbelievable.
Gene Segura, by the way, is hitting an even .500.
You know, Dan, Mike's a little bit more of a stat nerd than some people might think.
That's true.
I like the numbers.
He does like that
stuff.
Yeah,
I like the numbers.
And not that runners in scoring position is all that advanced, but I will say the Gene Segura runners in scoring position number has become my favorite Blauer stat so far through the first month, because every time he says it, it goes up 15 points.
It did on this last road trip.
When I saw it at 500 entering today, I thought, I can't wait for this. And lo and behold, second at bat for Gene. He's got a man at second base. Behind 0-2.
Well, to your point, Mike, I mean, that is everything as a hitter. I mean, it's a different approach. It's a different at bat. There's a little bit more on the line. It's tougher to hit with runners in scoring position, and to see that, I mean, it would seem obvious that a team that's had such success offensively would be hitting well with runners in scoring position, because getting those opportunities and then taking advantage of those opportunities is very, very important, and that's why the Mariners have been able to put up the numbers that they have.
Look, and to your point, the A's in the first month are having a very good year offensively. They are third in the American League in hitting, and they are also hitting well with runners in scoring position. They're hitting .272. Well, the Mariners are 30 points better than that.
Right. And as you know, too, within a team, that becomes very contagious, and when you start taking good at bats with runners in scoring position, it kind of feeds off one another, and the other guys in the lineup start doing the same. And we've talked about the depth of this lineup from 1 to 9, but when you got guys having contagious at bats with runners in scoring position, it gets a lot of fun down there in that dugout.
Yeah, it does, and I think that's been the biggest difference so far. As you see, Robbie, he's waiting on deck, but driving in runs in the last few years, especially, we've looked at Cano, Cruz, and Seager. Those guys had to get it done. Now with the length of this lineup, I think it takes the pressure off of everybody.
It's away from Lucroy, but Gordon stays put. 2-2. You know, Dan, you say that it's a different beast as a hitter with a runner in scoring position, but you can tell me I'm wrong. Mike says it every night. But, I mean, today, I'm not sure if that's true for every hitter, right? I mean, that is one of the points of frustration, I think, for a lot of people, is that for a percentage of major league hitters now, it doesn't matter if there's a runner at first, second, and third, or if the bases are empty. It's kind of the same swing, the same approach all the time, which is what makes what the Mariners have been able to do through the first month even more impressive.
Well, and I think you're right, and I think, you know, to your point, I think even with 2 strikes, things are the same, and I think that's why we see an increase in the strikeouts that we've seen, especially in April. I think the same approach is being taken, whether they're heading the count or whether they have 2 strikes, and I think the approach of just trying to make contact with 2 strikes is a little bit in the past, and these guys are taking, you're right, they're taking the same kind of a swing each time.
I mean, look at this. The month of April, the first full month in big league history, more strikeouts than hits. You know, Mike and I were talking about this before the game. We were both shocked that this was the first month that's ever happened.
You consider the last couple of years with the amount of strikeouts that have been going on in the game, you would have thought that that had happened in another month, but there it is. I think for myself, when you look at the Mariners, though, Dan, it's the way the game is played. And we just showed you the strikeouts. It's different for this lineup because these guys are just good hitters. You look at them, you know, 309, 298, 313, 274, 309. I mean, it's just, you know, moving down the line. And the guys that are finally back in the lineup, which is Zunino and Gamble and Healy, they're just starting to get their feet on the ground. And Healy now is hot, swinging the bat well. Mike has hit his share of home runs, and he's going to throughout the year. So I think it just makes it just more difficult for a pitcher to go through it. Look, they make mistakes all the time. It's just a matter of whether you can take advantage of them or not. And the Mariners have done a pretty good job of that, especially on this last road trip.
Yeah, and some of those guys you mentioned, you talk about Cruz, you talk about Haniger, you talk about Zunino, you talk about Healy. These guys can leave the yard, whether it's right field, center field, or left field. They can beat you in a lot of different ways in a lot of different parts of the ballpark, which makes it even more difficult. They're not just pull type power hitters.
Right.
They're any part of the ballpark power hitters.
And I think the other thing too, Aaron, when you were talking about it hitting on the first pitch and how well the Mariners have done that, they're not just wildly swinging up there. When they swing at the first pitch, they're doing something with it because typically it's in the middle of the plate. If it's on the corners, they'll probably take it more times than that.
Gordon out at second. Robbie ahead 3-1. And a footnote to that April strikeout hits number. The Mariners, through the first month of the season, the fewest strikeouts in the major leagues, which is something that obviously Jerry and Scott wanted to do since day one, both on the offensive side and the pitching side.
And they have a lot of good hitters in that lineup.
But it goes back to your point, Mike. They are swinging earlier in the count, and they're doing something with it, which prevents them from getting deep in the count.
Right. And I think that that's a big advantage, and it's one of the things that has changed in this game over the last 2, 3, 4 years, Dan. And Aaron and I were talking about it. You see a starter, and you're only going to see him twice, and then you're seeing the velocity that's coming out of the bullpen. You know, what are you waiting around for? Who wants to be 0-2, 1-2 in today's game?
One out, a full count to Cano. Mariners have already tied it up. A chance to take the lead here in the third as time is called. The ground rule double on the first pitch of this inning. The 3-2. And Scott today was talking about the lack of strikeouts for Mariners hitters this year. This was the guy that he brought up right away. We've chronicled already this season how little Robbie is chasing outside of the strike zone.
He has been as disciplined as we've seen it. But even staying away from the strikeout, that last pitch is a curveball on the outside corner, and he's able to spoil it. Which is Trigg's best pitch, and nobody's done anything with his curveball this year. Again, hitting just a little bit over 100 off of it. But he gives himself an opportunity to get another look as opposed to taking it for strike 3 or just waving at it because it's an off-speed pitch.
Once again, the 3-2. Of course, a strikeout for Cano as we're talking about it. We'll wear that one for you, Robbie. Seattle Mariners baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Steel. To find your local Steel dealer, visit steeldealers.com. By Virginia Mason Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, making bodies happy again. And by Safeco Insurance. Find a local agent at safeco.com. Do more. Two outs for Nelson Cruz. Gordon still out at second. Dan, I'm not sure if you saw it on the road trip. Second to last day in Cleveland, Nelson Cruz a 4-hit day. And the softest exit velocity, I believe, was 109 miles an hour.
That was on the home run.
Yes, and the top shelf exit velo was 117.
Yeah, he is.
That was a good day.
Some kind of strong. Wow. Mike, we were talking about it a little bit earlier. When you're that big and strong and seeing the ball that well, it's got to feel really good to get in that box and see if you can top it, what you did the last time.
Well, and it's funny how the game goes sometimes. For Nelson, he ended up getting a couple of bases to drive in runs. I believe it was in Chicago, going the other way back up the middle. And so then he has it all locked, and you can tell when a hitter's able to do that, especially when you have his type of power. And on that particular day, everything was just in slow motion for him. They had to bring the infield in one time too.
That one went screaming by at about 115 miles an hour off the bat. Cruz a chance to give the Mariners the lead here at the bottom of the third.
And even here, Chapman almost on the grass in the outfield at third base.
Ball and 2 strikes. Well, the Mariners have gotten to Triggs over the course of his young big league career. Making his 4th start against Seattle tonight. Over his previous 3 starts against the Mariners hitting him for a .290 average and an OPS pressing 900. And has given up more home runs for the Mariners than any other opponent in his young career. Now the 2-2. Gets out foul in a hurry. Previous foul ball 116 miles an hour off the bat of Cruz. But now it's at a full count. If Nelly can reach Seager on deck. D. Gordon, the leadoff ground rule double out at second base. The payoff. Stays alive. Nelly trying to bring Gordon in from second. Another 3-2. Waves at it. The curveball from Triggs. Couple of strikeouts to end the third. start against the Oakland A's. 4 strikeouts over the first 3 innings.
Well, he really utilized that curveball very, very well, using it at the bottom of the zone, and then also mixing in that changeup. But the two-seamer's been pretty active today as well, Mike. And here we are starting the 4th inning, just 44 pitches.
Semien on the first pitch finds left field past Seager. Leadoff single for the A's shortstop.
Dan, you mentioned his curveball, and he used it quite a bit going through the lineup the first time. Also mixing in his changeup and the two-seamer, but this year seeing him throw his curveball more than his changeup, can that help his changeup or maybe even the location of his fastball?
Yeah, I think it does help. I mean, certainly in one sense, the hitters aren't seeing as many changeups, especially the lefties, and when you don't see the pitches often, it's much harder to hit. But I do think it's a different look as well. You know, the changeup's running away from a left-handed hitter, the curveball breaking more down and in to the left-hander. So I think it's 2 different looks as well, and the combination of those together make it for a more difficult at bat. But to me, I like Felix mixing up more pitches and not being just the changeup kind of guy that he's been in the past. And I think that's been sort of a conscious effort on his part.
I would agree with that. And I think the other thing that we're also seeing from him, and I've seen it a couple of times tonight, is you can still see 92 from him, but it's typically fastball top of the strike zone. But the two-seamer that you mentioned, the way that it's reacting at home plate, the way that it's moving down at 89, 90, I think taking that little bit of velocity off has really helped him.
Yeah, I mean, and you look around the league. I mean, Mike Leake does a great job of running that two-seamer back onto the plate and then throwing that slider off the plate. A lot of guys in the league are using that two-seamer effectively, and it's not so much how hard you throw, but you're right, it's the amount of movement and the kind of movement you get with it. And it's a devastating pitch. And we talk about Bartolo Colon and the success he had, you know, in his couple starts ago where he almost had that perfect game, and that's basically all he throws is just runs that two-seamer. And it's really a tough pitch with that movement.
And if you can get the command of it, it seemed to me watching that outing by him, he basically stayed on the same side of the plate. It was thrown at the hip of the lefties or started off the plate to the right-handers and just run it back onto the same corner.
Yeah.
Semien back to the back quickly.
And if you look at Felix tonight with his fastball, for the most part he has done it. He has been on the edges of the plate with his fastball and that movement.
The 1-2 to Lowry. Semien take it off. Healy's only play over to first base. Semien in scoring position, 1 down.
He's the first base runner to get into scoring position for the A's tonight.
Felix now facing Chris Davis. Was able to strike out Davis to end the first inning. Fouls it away, 1-1. And one of the great perks of the job is to be able to get around the American League and talk to guys who do our job for other teams, get their takes on different players. And I remember a couple of years ago when we were in Texas, and Felix has, of course, faced the Rangers almost 50 times, just like he has the Oakland A's. We were talking to the Hall of Fame radio broadcaster for the Rangers, Eric Nadel, and he was talking about Felix's success against Texas and against the A's. And he was saying how, and this is almost a direct quote from Eric, he said, well, when Felix faces the A's, he just throws his hat out on the mound, he strikes out 10. And it is amazing for a team that has seen him time and time and time again his continued success even as the roster has turned over. Two and two. Another fastball on the edge, Mike.
On the EQC tracer, one fastball in the inside corner and that one right on the outside corner. And that's the pitch that Dan was talking about. Started off the plate just enough and have the hitter give up on it and watch it run back onto the corner. Excellent command of the fastball.
And really it's that command, Mike, and the use of the fastball that sets up everything else, and being able to throw that changeup off of that, being able to throw that curveball off of that, and even the occasional slider that he throws. When you're able to hit both sides of the plate with that fastball, the hitter thinks he's got to cover both sides, and it just sets everything up.
Davis swings and misses. Fifth strikeout for the King. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Seattle Mariners and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Seattle Mariners. Now 2 out. Simeon still out at second base. Here's Matt Olson. Time called. Off the hands, inside out to left field. Gamble finds it for out number 3. Simeon stranded at second base. We go to the bottom of the 4th inning. Some big bats coming up for the Mariners. Kyle Seager and then Mitch Haniger. Mike Sedino will follow. For the A's, we take it on James Paxton. Start number 7 for James. We have seen him twice this year now get to 10 strikeouts to tie career best. Be a good one tomorrow. Our coverage begins at 6:30. Middle game of this 3-game series. Here's Seager. Taking the first pitch inside, ball 1. Now Seager doubled and has scored the lone run of the game so far for the Mariners. It was Zanino who drove him in. As usual, the shift on for Kyle. Pops this up shallow right. Jed Lowry, the second baseman for the A's, out number 1. One out, base is empty for Mitch Haniger. Dan, what's impressed you the most about Mitch through the first month?
I think just for me is consistency. I think, you know, it's one thing to go through a hot spell, but to me this has lasted very, very long, and I think the other part of it for me was that when Nelson Cruz went down onto the DL, he was able to step right up and fill that 4-hole pretty well for Nelly, and that was a big lift for the Mariners during that particular point in April. And so to me, the consistency that he's had and the ability to pick up Nelly on the DL have been two huge pluses for Mitch Haniger in my book over the course of April.
You mentioned the consistency. That is something that Scott Servais talked about on the road trip when asked about Haniger and the same type of thing. And he said it's not just what he does in the game, but it's the way he prepares every day. It's the same thing every single day.
Talk about it a lot in the minor leagues, that if you have a good process, you're going to get good results. And when you have a consistent process that you can follow through with every day, you get consistent results on the field. And no one was more consistent than that man right there, Edgar Martinez.
His most recent home run has created some viral stir. Apparently Mitch had promised his cousin, his younger cousin, that he would hit a home run for his first communion, and there was a video of the family in the living room watching the game and the final at bat for Mitch in Cleveland, and of course Mitch homered. Which really is, when I saw the video, guys, I really thought, I kind of want to tell the family, like, let's act like we've been here before, right? I mean, we've seen this 9 times already. I mean, are we really surprised? This is like it's like an every other day thing.
Yeah.
Full count to Mitch, 1 out. Haniger aboard, a 1-out walk. All right, Dan, time now for Built for Baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile. What are you going to show us here, Dan?
I'm just noticing Triggs' stride foot. You look at Felix on the left, stride straight toward the catcher, Mike Zunino. But take a look at Andrew Triggs on the right-hand side of your screen, steps way towards third base, throws across his body quite a bit, and that's a big difference. That's probably about a foot and a half difference, and a very deceptive for a right-handed hitter.
And Dan, along with that, he's on the extreme third base side of the mound.
Right.
And I was talking about it earlier. I think it was in the first inning, and he has the good sinker that he's going to try to keep on the ground. But the more you watch him, if you're a right-handed hitter, as Mike is right here, when he throws that curveball at 76, it almost looks as if it starts behind you.
Yeah, and that's,
so you really have to hang in there.
Yeah, and that's part of the deception that he has, is that stride takes. As a hitter, you feel like he's throwing and striding right towards your hip, and so your inclination is to want to pull off to get out of the way. But you're right, on that frisbee slider, you've got to really force yourself to stay in, so you can stay through the baseball.
1 out, 1 on for Zunino, 1-1 count. Behind 1-2. Mike with an RBI double back in the second, tied the game to 1. Gamble on deck, Mariners number 8 hitter. Haniger taking the lead after the walk. chasing after it. And number 2. Well, join us at Safeco Field this Saturday for 90s night when the Mariners host the Angels. Enjoy the sights and sounds of the decade, plus the first 10,000 fans receive a one-of-a-kind James Paxton fanny pack. Join the fun by picking up your tickets at mariners.com. All right, which former Mariner that you guys played with would you most likely see in a fanny pack? Randy?
Randy.
Thank you, Mike. Dan, let's try to keep up here, Dan.
Wow, that's a great question. Fanny pack.
I can tell you this much. I have it on record that Jerry Dipoto, at one point, not all that many years ago, was a very proud fanny pack wearer. So, I mean, it's an okay thing, I guess.
I guess. I mean, fanny packs were they were in back in the day.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We've got to go back in time here a little.
I'm sure there were guys that utilized them. Very handy.
Oh, 2 on Gamble.
I was going to ask you what you're going to wear on 90s night.
That's a great question. I clearly need to give that some more thought. They got some washed out jeans. Find a big cellular phone.
Oh, yeah, nice. Good call.
Saved by the Bell style.
With an antenna.
That's a must. I mean, obviously, there will be a Walkman involved.
Where would you find
with headphones in my desk drawer, Mike? Lay off, okay? Sorry, we're not all as good as technology as Flower Power is. Over towards first, fair ball. Olsen back to the bag to end the inning. We are off to the 5th, all tied. National Electrical Contractors Association Cascade Chapter, investing in our future. By Amtrak Cascades, what a beautiful way to travel. Visit AmtrakCascades.com. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. A very pleasant day here in Seattle. Mariners back home to begin a 6-game homestand. Off day yesterday. Felix's first pitch missing to Matt Chapman. was Chapman who bounced into that incredible double play started by Kyle Seager back in the second. Gets a strike over to make it 3-1. Canna still trying to stay warm on deck. A leadoff walk to Chapman. Now this has become quite the tradition for Felix Hernandez. When he is all set and ready to go from the bullpen, taking that ball to a young fan. And Jace from Bellingham, proud recipient today of it. That's something he'll hold on to forever. Oh, 1 on Canna. Now I really have to think, all seriousness here, that Canna is under the weather. I mean, he almost has to be blowing on his hands and wearing the neck gaiter on a 60-degree night here in Seattle, right?
Yeah, it's not that cold.
He's hitting .308, and he's probably worn that thing for the last 2 weeks.
That's a great point. You're probably exactly right.
Now I know you guys are superstitious and all, but I mean, let's just say, for conversation's sake, that this lasts for Canna, and we roll into June, and he's in Texas. I mean, at some point you got to say uncle, right? I mean, it has to. This has a shelf life. I'm getting the look for Mike.
Not necessarily.
2-2. In other words, Mike, without you saying anything, what you're saying is as long as it lasts.
Yeah.
If it's not broke, don't fix it, right?
And I like to think of it more as a routine.
Full foul. Okay, it still does not explain why Canna was blowing on his hands on the on-deck circle.
Routine.
Well, in Minnesota when I was 27, this is what I did. Had pocket warmers then.
Yeah, he probably has them now.
The 2-2 from Felix. It's missing inside.
When you think about the last road trip, Aaron, the Mariners were playing well. You were doing an exceptional job. Same pocket square every day. Routine. Nothing changes.
Oh, that's beautiful. Goes right to the jugular.
That took you a while to think of. Down to second. Got him. Strike him out. Throw him out.
And a quick tag. The ball ended up bouncing down there, which we rarely see Mike do that. So I'm guessing he didn't have a good grip on the baseball, unless the hitter maybe fell over home plate. I'm not sure. Clearly tags him on the elbow.
Take a look at the replay. Sees him take off. Just tries to get rid of it quickly. Looked to me maybe more like, you know, we see that occasionally from a shortstop where he kind of uses this skip. But maybe he had a chance to just make a long hop, made a nice throw. It was right on the money.
What are the tendencies to have that kind of throw, especially if it's an off-speed pitch that's down in the strike zone? It looked like he had to go down to get the ball first.
Yeah, what happens on an off-speed pitch a lot of times is you really have to wait for it, because if you get going too quickly or too soon, your body gets out ahead of your arm and you don't have much on the throw. And on a breaking ball, you have to wait, let that ball get on you so that your delivery and your transfer is smooth and gets you to second base. But it looked to me like he did get out there a little quick, but was able to use that long skip and got the ball there with him. It was really in plenty of time too.
Yeah.
Robbie had plenty of time.
Sometimes you just have to get rid of it.
Yeah.
0-1 to Pinder. Both times today, Felix has issued a leadoff walk. It has been erased one way or another. The double play in the second. You strike him out, throw him out here in the fifth. The 1-2. Levels out 2-2. Pinder a ground out earlier. Now the 2-2. Strike three called. Strikeout number 7 from the King, who was punched out 7 against the A's for now the second time this year. We'll be seeing Ryan Healy at the top of the order. D. Gordon, Gene Segura all coming up for the Mariners. All tied, 1 apiece. We go to the bottom of the 5th. Take a look at our Coors Light Banquet timeless moment. That May the 1st of 1991. Now he is the greatest ever. Rickey Henderson steals his 939th bag, passing Lou Brock, the all-time big league record. He finished with 1,406 career steals. Mike and former teammate of yours, Rickey Henderson.
Yeah, and I was there that night.
Wow. Stole third base, right?
I did. Yep.
Now, you were just. Were you just kind of a pup at that time?
Yes, I was just breaking in. I was sitting on the bench.
Yes, and
yeah, Randy Velarde, I believe, was playing.
And you were within arm's now. Is that the third base dugout?
No, I was on the first base side with the Yankees at the time.
But still, you had a front row seat to Rickey hoisting the bag over his head
and the speech,
declaring himself the greatest ever. Which, I mean, you can't argue with it.
You can't.
It was the record after all.
Yeah.
Haley, Gordon, and Segura. Hard chopper to Semien. Gets a late big hop on him. 1 out. Now, one of the famous Ricky stories, of course, is that he framed instead of cashed his first $1 million check. And I know, Mike, you have a very similar story.
Very similar. By the way, when he stole that base, everybody in the ballpark knew he was going to go, and he stole it easily. No chance to get him. Well, I was telling you about it earlier, that going through some of my things that I did a little bit different. It was a check.
And you did not cash it.
It was from Topps for the baseball cards, and it was for $5 my rookie year.
And I had no idea that.
So it's framed.
I had no idea the play, and I mean, it makes sense that.
Yeah. Dan, you had one too, right?
Yeah. I mean, everybody got one when you got your first Topps card.
Yeah.
Now, did you take the $5 and run?
I probably went to the bank.
Base is empty for D. Gordon. Left side, Semien, tough play, long throw. D. Gordon safe, no surprise. He's 3 for 3.
A bunt base hit, a line drive into the gap, and now an infield hit, putting the ball in play. You know what we haven't seen a lot of so far, as you take another look, and he's safe, clearly safe, is teams trying to pitch out on him. He leads the league in stolen bases with 10, but you don't see them pitching out as much.
Yeah, that does seem to be something that you don't see in the game as much. I know the Mariners like to employ what's considered a modified pitch out. It's a little bit hard. You can't really tell it's a pitch out. Catcher just sets up way off the plate away, just like it's a normal pitch, and the pitcher delivers a normal pitch. It's just way out of the strike zone. So there are teams that have gone to more of a modified pitch out rather than the traditional pitch out.
By the way, you look at D, the last 2 games, 7 for his last 8, dating back to that final game in Cleveland.
Did you have the freedom to call your own pitch outs?
I could if I had a strong feeling about it. The bench coach or a designated coach on the bench would call the throwovers, the pitch outs, those kinds of things. We were obviously, as a catcher, you could, if you had a feeling about something one way or the other, you were able to sort of step in and do your own thing. Most of the time I would give throwovers on my own. That didn't have to come necessarily from the bench, but pitch outs is a little bit different.
This gets past Lucoy's glove. Gordon easily takes second.
That would be a wild pitch. Well, you have to be somewhat careful with it, because the one thing that you don't want to do on a pitch out is have him not run, and now you have a bad count for your pitcher after the pitch out.
And that's really the biggest thing is you know, obviously picking the timing so you don't get your pitcher in a big hole with the pitch out.
Two and one on Gene.
So, Aaron, if I were to combine these two stories, I would say that I think $5 would probably get you a pocket square.
Nice, Dan.
I guess first you have to wear a sport coat to be able to use a pocket square, Dan, so you wouldn't be able to participate, I suppose. But that's okay. You can put on your Mariners Hall of Fame sport coat and put one in there. 3 and 1. Robbie on deck. But you're learning from Mike. This is very impressive.
Yeah. Quick study.
I'd say so. Another chance with the man in scoring position now for Segura. Gene takes ball 4. Mariners a couple on, one out for Cano.
Now we were talking earlier about the Mariners and the team hitting over 300 with runners in scoring position. That being said, they're 1 for 8 tonight, so it's about time for a base hit, drive in a run.
Now Robbie flew out to the warning track right in front of the 380 marker in right center field his first time up. Strikeout in the third. He's got a couple of guys who can really motor on the base paths. Looks at ball one. Now Triggs has not had a clean inning yet. The Mariners have had traffic on against him all night long. Get to really cash in on it though. A chance here.
Mike, you were talking about Cano's consistency with watching pitches and being a little bit more selective. I think that's kind of the key, one of the keys, I think, to hitting with runners in scoring position. I think a lot of guys, when they get in those types of situations, they want to make something happen. They want to force something to happen. So they go up there, they swing at pitches that aren't in the strike zone, and they make outs. But to your point, I mean, these are the situations where Robbie does so well because he maintains that selectiveness.
And the other part about it too is with that is trying to not do too much, so that when you do get the pitch that you can handle, you put a good swing on it, as opposed to over swinging at times and popping the ball up or swinging through it.
Two and one on Cano. Gordon, an infield single to begin the inning. Pardon me, with one out. Gordon at second, Segura at first. Now the 2-1. Out to center. Has some carry. Straight away. Canna's got some space to make the catch. Second time Robbie has flown out to the track. Gordon into third. Segura staying put at first. Runners on the corners. Everybody feeling like Zunino right now. Use your Mariners ticket to ride Link Light Rail to and from the game through June 3rd. Learn more at soundtransit.org. Two outs, runners on the corners for Cruz. Nelly on the first pitch. A deep ride out to left center. And this is gone. 3-run homer. Number 6, Nelson Cruz puts the Mariners on top. Mike, we were saying something about slugging percentage on the first pitch.
Well, you mentioned it, traffic the entire game. It was just a matter of time. And Nelson Cruz is going to get a pitch right in the middle of the plate, just spinning right there for him. Hit it out into the pen.
Mike, you used to have a name for those cement mixers right there.
There it is.
That was just spinning, 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 saying hit me as it came in, and it was elevated, and Nelly knows what to do with that.
It's great to see a hitter's eyes light up.
Oh, man.
2-0 on Kyle. .410 feet. Two and one on Kyle. Way outside, Seager ahead 3-1. Now Seager thinking he took ball 4. You can see why. Tough news for Corey Seager. Yeah. Kyle's younger brother, Tommy John. Missed the rest of the season. Time call. I mean, Miguel Sano is the guy actually is a position player that I think of who's had Tommy John. That was before he got to the big leagues, but you don't see too many guys in the field get Tommy John. There's ball 4.
And that's for a Dodger team that has been struggling the first month.
Second walk this inning, 3rd on the night for Triggs.
Dan, we say it all the time, but a backup slider, it's just spinning, not doing anything. What causes that? Any idea?
Well, sometimes it's fatigue, but it's typically when you get underneath the slider. A lot of times, the guys that throw good sliders, we talk about staying on top of that slider and getting the good spin and the good depth to the pitch. But when you get underneath the slider a little bit, or you get around to the side of the slider, you get the spin, but you don't get the depth, and it just kind of spins there. And it's very, very hittable, like we just saw. And when you don't get that good drive from your legs and get on top of that slider, that's a pitch that's easy to hit.
Here's Haniger with 2 outs and Seager aboard, and Haniger wears that. On base for the second time without a hit. There comes Bob Melvin. Couple of men on, 2 outs. We've got a pitch and change. The Mariners have cashed in here. Bottom of the 5th inning. 1 swing from Nelson Cruz. His 6th home run this year. A 3-run shot. 410 feet later. Mariners leading 4-1. Well, the Mariners able to get to Andrew Triggs. Chase him after 4 2/3.
6 hits, 4 runs. They were earned. He is responsible for the 2 base runners, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, 86 pitches, 49 of those for strikes.
Lou Trevino, who made his major league debut in mid-April, is up on the mound now.
4 appearances. Hasn't given up an earned run yet. 9 strikeouts in 5 2/3, and the biggest reason why, very good fastball. His average fastball this year, 97 miles an hour, 92 mile an hour cutter, and a curveball to go with it.
He inherits 2 men with 2 outs, facing Mike Zunino. Once a strike 1 and 98. Like an RBI double his first time up. Another heater, 0-2. We talk all the time about being able to time up a fastball. Can you time up 98 after seeing it one time, first pitch?
He was getting his timing when he was on deck, while he was getting loose.
Breaking ball. Ball and 2 strikes on Mike.
I think that's one thing big league hitters as a whole do very, very well, is they're able to time up a fastball and time it up very quickly. And that to me is, that's why you just can't repeat fastball, fastball, fastball. They adjust so quickly, and they'll make it hurt.
Even at 97, 98.
Yeah, exactly.
Down on strikes, 97. A couple of men are left, but the Mariners cash in Nelson Cruz. Home run number 6 on the year. A 3-run shot. Mariners now lead it 4-1. One as we go to the 6th. A time for Snoqualmie Casino around the league. Really great series going on in Houston. Yankees and Astros. Justin Verlander, 8 scoreless, ties a career best 14 strikeouts. Ken Giles, 4 runs in the 9th. Gary Sanchez, a 3-run homer off of Giles. And the Yankees, who just saw their winning streak snapped after 9 straight by the Astros last night, get the win tonight. Not normally when you see 8 scoreless and 14 strikeouts does that team end up winning, but it does tonight. Lucroy leads it off for the A's. Like You and I were talking about this just the other day. Verlander just somehow continues to get better. I mean, there was a time, ballpark it 3 years ago, when many people thought that the days of Verlander were long behind him.
He looks better to me, for sure. His velocity is back. His velo went down for a couple of years, and now it's back to where it was before. And you know, you buy into what Houston has been doing, and you look at the kind of arms that they have, and they're talking about using the breaking ball more, and then here's the fastball. It makes it even more difficult to catch up to it.
1-2 to Lucroy.
How nice is it too to be a part of that staff where you're not the, you know, you may be the ace of that staff, but you know there are other guys around you starting that
everybody's not
very,
looking
very
at you.
good.
Yeah, to stop a losing streak, or
Yes.
you have to give us 7-8 innings tonight.
Line foul. Garrett Cole has double-digit strikeouts in all but 2 starts this year. Look at the rest of that rotation.
Whoever started for the Yankees must have thrown a pretty good ball game too. It's not an easy lineup to get through.
The 2-2. Out to center. D. Gordon hasn't had much activity out there so far tonight. 1 out. Now Jordan Montgomery, who started that game, tight left elbow, left after the first inning, and then it was bullpen days.
Wow.
You can guess. I mean, they pieced it together. Pretty nice when you can go Betances, Robertson, Chapman the final 3 innings. First pitch swinging, Joyce. Right back to D. Gordon. Suddenly 2 outs.
Quick outs.
Well, this Sunday, when the Mariners host the Angels at 1:10, all kids 14 and under will receive this LED Boom Time watch featuring Silver Slugger Nelson Cruz, courtesy of Aquafina. You'll always know what time with a flick of your boomstick wrist. Head to Mariners.com for tickets. And it looks as though Ohtani will be pitching on Saturday for the Angels. Had the ankle injury, nothing major, but I'm going to push him back a little bit. First, he was in line to pitch on Sunday against Felix, but it does look like he will be going on Saturday here at Safeco Field.
Like one of the things you and I were talking about with Felix is his beginning later and later into his starts. 6 innings last time out. Almost through the 6th here, 83 pitches. Probably has a chance to go back out in the 7th. It's nice to see him out there a little bit longer and getting through that lineup maybe another time.
That's one of the things, even in this inning, just quick contact.
Yes.
Get a lead, that puts more pressure on the opposing offense too, to try to swing the bats. I think that he's had really good command of his fastball tonight on both sides of the plate, which has set up everything else.
Yeah.
Two. The Kings 2-2 on the way. Just missing low outside, full count. Now the payoff.
It's another thing that has changed right there. 3-2. Almost an automatic changeup in the past, and now he comes back with the curveball.
Another 3-2 from Felix. Lost him. Third walk. This one with 2 outs. How about what's coming up tomorrow night? Middle game of the series. A couple of left-handers up on the mound. Brett Anderson making his first start of the season for the A's. Maple Grove will be loud and in charge out there in left field. James Paxton making his 7th start of the season. Ball 1 to Lowry. Now Lowry responsible for the only run so far tonight for the A's. 3rd batter of the ball game. His 7th home run this season. Pulled to Healy. Just a foot away. A man left. Felix. 6 strong innings. Just 1 run against the A's. Century Link, connecting you to the power of the digital world. By BNSF, sponsor of the BNSF Blast. By Money Tree, proud to make a donation to Mariners Care for every Mariners win. And by Jack in the Box. This season, a Mariners double play means free Jumbo Jacks from Jack in the Box. 8-9-1 due up for the Mariners. It begins with Ben Gamble. Lou Trevino back up on the mound, hard throwing right-hander. Only a handful of innings in his major league career so far. One and two.
That's a tough pitch. Cut fastball at 92 miles an hour.
Time missing away, not by much.
And did you ever have a year where you missed the majority of spring training?
Yes.
That's tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was thinking about that with Ben. People were asking me about it. I'm like, he missed the entire spring. It's going to take him a little bit of time to get it figured out. But he ended up hitting 275 last year. It was well over 300 for the longest time. But I just think it just has to be so difficult. I was fortunate I had spring every year, but I can't imagine not having those at bats.
Yeah, it is difficult, and I think it's something that gets overlooked. I think you're right. I think just that ability to kind of slowly get your bat going, get your eyes going, find your swing, and you're right. Ben was not able to take advantage of any of that and really got healthy, and then Pastime, it was game on at that point.
That's pretty good at bat there. 6 pitches. It's a breaking ball. There's the curveball, stays on it. The other thing about it too with them is when you're in spring training, you don't have the pressure of the season with those at bats that you're getting, and you can afford to give up an at bat or two trying to work on something in particular as opposed to the season when you're fighting every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I mean, you do all your tweaking, all your adjustments in spring training, hoping that when you go north, you've got your swing.
Chapman, low scoop on the run, throws to second, on to first, not in time.
Talking about Chapman earlier in the ballgame and how well he has played at third, especially against the Mariners. That is not an easy play.
One on for D. Gordon, looking for his 4th hit. And Mike, getting back to what you're saying about spring training, you think about guys who have a full spring, even a full productive spring. How many of those guys can still have a bad April? I mean, not that you're doomed if you missed all of spring training, but how difficult that must be.
Like you're talking to me directly.
No.
I had a few tough Aprils there, Aaron, but yes, you're right about that.
I maybe remember you saying that over the course of time. On the ground, seeing I single D. Gordon. It is another 4-hit day for D. Healy going all the way into third base. Well, not only does D get his hits, man, he does not waste much time.
Talk about a lot of players had to really pull his hands back in close to his body to get the barrel to it. That was right. That was the cutter that time. But I think D has been as important as anybody. Ryan Healy, no hesitation, first to third, as anybody on the team. We talked a lot about Haniger and what Nelson Cruz means, and Robbie off to the great start, but D. Gordon at the top of the lineup, and the speed that he brings to this club has been huge for him.
Talked about it a little bit on the radio side prior to the game, but as you see D take off.
Pender in deep right. D back to first. Healy in from third. A lot of activity on the base paths, but it turns out to be a sacrifice fly. The Mariners add on. It's 5-1.
Going back to your point, Mike, about D. Gordon and just having that speed, what a difference it makes. I know from a catcher's perspective, working with a pitcher, when you've got a guy at first base that can run, it changes everything. And distraction becomes first base. The quality of the pitch that the guy makes just isn't there because he's so consumed with what's going on at first base. And D's got that kind of speed and that kind of a distractibility. And it leaves pitches in the middle of the plate for good hitters that are 2, 3, 4 in the lineup.
And it's not just that. It also will have a tendency to shorten up the infield. Whatever you think your scouting report is, they will cheat towards second base a little bit more if they're in the middle of the diamond because they have to beat him there.
Right.
And they know that he's going to run at some point. Opens up holes for the guys that are hitting behind him.
Robbie taken all the way.
How different for you too at third base when you knew a guy could run, fielding the ball cleanly, getting it, good transfer and a good strong throw over there. Makes you think about it a little bit more.
We've seen that. We've seen guys that end up rushing a play that they probably would have been able to throw him out, but because of his speed, they rush it and it causes problems.
The 8 for his last 9, and by my count 4 hits on a grand total of 8 pitches seen tonight. There he goes. Off the mark. Another bag for D. Gordon, number 11.
And it looked like he stole this off the pitcher.
Yeah.
Had a great jump.
Great jump. I think he had Trevino timed very, very well, and he was taken off before, I think, the move to the plate. It looks like the ball hit him in the foot. But you're right. There was no chance for Lucroy to make any kind of play on him. Great jump. You got a guy that has the speed of Gordon and the instincts like he did on that particular play. You're not going to throw him out very often.
And Lucroy's done a pretty good job throwing runners out. He's at 33% this year.
Robbie on base for the first time, a 4-pitch walk. Bring out a visit to the mound. Scott Emerson, the pitching coach. Coulomb warming up inside the bullpen. Well, the Mariners 1 run in the second, a 3-spot in the 5th thanks to the home run by Nelson Cruz. A run here in the 6th inning, the sacrifice fly Gene Segura. And with Nelly coming up here, chance to really open things up.
We talked about the depth of the lineup, Mike, too, and this is one of the things I think that a deep lineup gives you the ability to do, which is add on. And the more often you're scoring, it just helps take so much pressure off your starter, off your bullpen. And I think for the Mariners, with the depth in their lineup, they're going to be able to add on quite a bit throughout the season.
Well, we certainly saw that on this last road trip when they were finally able to get the entire lineup in there in Cleveland.
Simeon, the shortstop. Over to Lowry at second base to end the inning. Couple of minutes left. A run crosses. We've played 6. To be broken, make history and win $5.6 million. Download Beat the Streak today in the App Store or on MLB.com/BTS. Now Felix back out there in the 7th, 91 pitches. Nick Vincent beginning to stir inside the bullpen. Cleanup hitter Chris Davis leads it off for the A's. Strike 1. I see the 2 strikeouts for Davis. 7 in total tonight for Felix. That ties a season best. The other time he did it was at home against the A's. Felix also an out away from tying a season high in that same start against Oakland, 6 1/3.
Felix now at 95 pitches, his season high 97, which was against the A's earlier in the month of April.
Fouls off the curve, full count.
To your point earlier, Mike, a 3-1 curveball there. Usually a changeup. Right. It'll be interesting to see what he does 3-2 here.
Here it comes. Does not go. Just beneath the knees. Fourth walk from Felix. Now some roster moves today. A busy day for Jerry and Scott. Guillermo Heredia recalled from Tacoma. Same story, Casey Lawrence. Erasmo Ramirez placed on the disabled list, as has been Dan Altavilla on the disabled list. For Erasmo, it's going to be some time. We're looking at about a month for Erasmo, at least, and for Altavilla a few days before he can play catch again. 0-1 to Olsen. Two. First time Felix had 100 pitches this season. The 1-2. Line right field, base hit. Haniger having to dig it out. Meanwhile, Davis digging for third. Olsen into second. He's safe. Olsen's first hit against the Mariners this year, previously 0 for 12.
And this is on the changeup. 85 miles an hour as he hits it down towards the corner. Haniger able to cut it off and get it back in quickly. Actually had a play out at second base. It looks like that will be it for Felix. Scott Service on his way out of the dugout.
Only the third hit given up tonight by the King. Felix exits to a standing ovation here inside Safeco Field. 3 hits his second start this year against the A's.
6 innings, 3 hits, 1 run. It was earned. It was a solo home run to Lowry. He is responsible for the 2 base runners, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts, 101 pitches, 59 strikes.
Into the bullpen, our Beacon Plumbing called the pin. Nick Vincent on to work with 2 men aboard.
And for Nick, 13 appearances on the year, 11 strikeouts, 3 walks, and 10 1/3. His fastball right at 90 miles an hour, cutter 87, 88, and a slider.
He inherits Davis at third base, Olsen at second. Leadoff walking a double, now facing Matt Chapman.
Not many opportunities for the A's to drive in a run. 0 for 2 tonight.
Nobody out, 2 in scoring position. And Vincent behind 3-1. Able to get it full now. On deck, center fielder. Now the 3-2. Strike 3 call at the knees.
After falling behind, a couple of quality pitches. This one at the bottom of the strike zone. Looked like it was the cutter.
See a nice job by Z there to frame that pitch as well.
One on Canna. Felix 6+. Canna, a 300 hitter early on this year. 0 for 2 tonight. Comes that off to Zunino, 0-2.
Nick doing a really nice job, Mike, on that outer third. Have to do too much out there, and got behind 3-1 on the last guy, but was able to keep the ball down even though he went away. And I think he just stayed out there. Probably will stay out there until someone is able to do something with it.
Probably throw his cutter off the plate away. 0-2 count. See if he can get him to chase it. Elevated the fastball at 90.
Appeal. 1-2.
Try to go up there again. Almost got the swing. more of a riding fastball. Does set up the cutter here pretty well.
Davis at third, Olsen at second. The 1-2. Broken bat off of Vincent's glove. Segura just kicks it away. Davis scores and Segura, he gets hurt. Very slow to get up.
He had to change directions, and then at the last second he had to reach out with his bare hand to just try to knock the ball down after it goes off of Nick's glove. See him changing directions right here. It looked like it was an issue with his shoulder as he hits the ground right there. Really a great play, saved another run.
It's a great effort to keep that ball on the infield.
That's a sigh of relief. First run to score for the A's since the first inning. Here's Pinder. Ground ball hopping. Healy, what a stab. Vincent quickly over the bag at first. Round number 2, Olsen scores. The ball looked like it was destined for right field.
Well, a couple of outs. Take a look at it. Pretty good play by Ryan over at first base. Really good play.
A couple of weakly hit balls,
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah.
It's tough to give up runs on those kind of hits.
Now the book on Felix, complete 3 runs over 6. There's Luke Roy. Canada, the runner, out at second. He's scored a couple of runs in this inning without a ball leaving the infield. Vincent's 1-2. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. It ends the top of the 7th. Now Raleigh Fingers, his son, Jason Raleigh Fingers, Spokane resident in the house tonight. Mariners have the lead. We stretch. great look down the concourse here inside Safeco Field. Mariners lead trim, but still 5-3 as we move to the bottom of the 7th. New pitcher up on the hill for Bob Melvin, Danny Coulomb.
10 appearances on the year, high ERA. In 10 innings, he has 7 strikeouts for 5 walks. Opponents hitting .306, and he's given up 3 home runs. Fastball, slider, curve. His fastball, 89 miles an hour. He will mix it up.
Well, and a lefty who has not had much success against lefties. They're batting nearly .350 against him. 2 of the 3 home runs. Ball 1 to Seager. Looks at a strike, 1-1. Mariners were able to chase A's starter Andrew Triggs out of the game in the 5th. He went 4 2/3.
Juan Nicasio starting to get loose in the pen for the Mariners.
With all the offense on the road trip for the Mariners, especially offense late in that trip, it could be easy to lose sight of the fact of how good, how great Nicasio and Diaz were at the back of the bullpen.
Yeah. Well, Nicasio, it's his job to get through the 8th inning, and he's done an excellent job of that this year. He leads the majors with 10 holds.
Seager strikes out to begin the bottom of the 7th. Oh, and this one's in the books. Be sure to stick around for Mariners postgame presented by Alaska Airlines. Good chance to hear from Felix. He tied his season high with 7 strikeouts tonight. Went back out into the 7th inning. Nelson Cruz, the man with a 3-run homer in the 5th. Here's Mitch Haniger. Soft pop up. Jed Lowry with 2 hands for out number 2. There comes Mike. Dan, last time we were with you here at the ballpark, Mike was not in the lineup yet. We didn't see him to the road trip. Good to see him back in the lineup and doing well, both at the plate and also behind the plate.
Yeah, I think he's obviously, it's great to have him back. Obviously, his bat in the lineup, so much power in that swing, and it helps that bottom part of the order so well. But what he does behind the plate, you know, you just can't put a price on, and I know the pitching staff is glad to have him back as well, and just the familiarity they have with Mike, and does such a good job behind the plate. So,
and they trust him.
Yeah. So I think that the pitching staff will continue to settle in, and it's nice to see that.
The opposite way into the corner. Foul ball. Taking home a souvenir. 2 outs, Mike behind 0-2. Still a ball and 2 strikes. It was Mike who originally tied this game up with an RBI double back in the second. There's Mero Petit getting loose. Again, the 1-2. The opposite way once more. Pender, long way to go. Into the front row. Look at slugging percentage in the American League. And the Mariners right there. Yankees, Red Sox, and Mariners tied with the A's. Of course, Mike in his somewhat limited at bats since coming back from the disabled list, at least compared to guys who've been in there since opening day. Seen plenty of extra base pop from Mike, as we've already seen tonight. Ends the inning. Coulomb out of the bullpen, retires his side in order. We go to the 8th. Nicasio coming out for the Mariners.
Jen Mueller was on the trip, so she's got the night off. It means I got a little double duty. So down on the field, I had to go for the pregame show. It means that nobody was here at the Ford Sports Desk. So Big Low and his buddies came and were snapping photos while I was gone. The hashtag to use is Where I Root, presented by Alaska Airlines. And then we've got this one. Zola has got a gals night out here at Safeco Field. And finally, this one's interesting. Gingers Abroad. Alicia Marie sends this one in. The hashtag to use is Where I Root, presented by Alaska Airlines. All right, we are headed to the 8th inning. That means it's Juan Nicasio time. He's been in 13 games, 1-0. He's got 10 holds. That leads the American League. Hey, guys, you know, the skipper was joking that Manny Acta tells him, hey, it's the 9th inning, your job is done as a skipper, right? You just go ahead and sit down. I think actually his job is done pretty much in the 8th inning.
That's what it's been feeling like. Thank you, Angie. Here's Matt Joyce to begin things. Oh, and 1.
4-1 Nicasio. Fastball slider. His fastball will be 91 to 95 miles an hour. Heavy sinking fastball.
And we have seen Nicasio get through the order, or get through 3 batters much quicker in the last, let's call it 4 or 5 times out than earlier in the season. It was 20 pitches plus every time out for Nicasio to get those 3 outs. He's become much more efficient, already ahead 0-2.
I think you see Mike Edwin Diaz, the confidence continuing to grow each time he goes out there. But how big do you think Nicasio has been for Edwin as well? He's been huge for the Mariners in this setup position, but how much do you think he and Edwin have a chance to talk out there and
you see
really
it together all the time.
Yeah,
I think it makes a big difference.
Swing and a miss. Good elevated fastball by Nicasio. Wow. Now your local Northwest Ford stores and the Mariners are collecting peanut butter at Safeco Field this Saturday to benefit Northwest Harvest. Fans are encouraged to drop off jars of peanut butter or make a donation. It's all part of Ford Focus on Child Hunger campaign. Strike 1 to Simeon. Well, the A's made some noise with the 7th. 2 runs that frame. Both those runs charged to Felix. Oh, 2. Nicasio getting ahead early to each of the first 2 hitters. That's the other thing too. His last 2 times out, both against the Indians. 9 pitches, 7 strikes. 10 pitches, 9 strikes.
8 pitches today, 6 strikes.
I mean, he has gotten better as that first month of the season went along.
And something I've noticed with him, Dan, even over the last couple of weeks where he's really thrown the ball well, is his fastball. It's quite a range when you think 91 to 95 miles an hour.
Yeah, and my question is that intentional? Is he trying to throw the fastball at different speeds to give a different look to the hitter?
Another strikeout.
Pretty good slider to go along with the good fastball. Well, after 95 comes right back with a slider just off the outside corner. I think we definitely see the velocity jump up a couple of miles anytime he's going to the top of the strike zone.
And that's really effective up there. And I think that's really what, you look at that tough slider right there just off the outside part of the plate. But what set that pitch up was that good hard fastball at 95 up at the top of the zone. Give that hitter a look up there and then throw that little slider off the plate away. That's what makes that slider so effective.
Well, first pitch strike to each of the first 3 hitters.
Well, I'm not sure if it was something that was mechanical or just the way that he was feeling, but he just seems free and easy now, and the ball's really coming out of his hand without much effort.
I think sometimes we forget too that pitchers can be like hitters. It takes them a while to get going once the season starts. I think spring training, relievers don't get a lot of action a lot of the time in spring training.
Especially a veteran reliever like him.
Exactly. And so for him to get his first month under his belt, I think now we're starting to see him get to a form where he's more comfortable.
The 0-2. You're talking about the idea of possibly intentionally taking something off of his fastball. That takes some guts, doesn't it?
It does, and I don't know if that's what he's doing.
Right, if that is the case.
But there are guys, and you know, back in the day, that the era that Mike played and I played, they had such a thing called a BP fastball, which was about 4 or 5 miles an hour slower. It wasn't a changeup, but it was just enough to get you off timing.
Lowry high out to right field again. This time it stays in the yard. Haniger. Nicasio retires the side in order. We go to the bottom of the 8th. Gamble, Healy, Gordon all coming up. Is one swing by Nelson Cruz. Guess what? It got out of the ballpark.
You can tell by the way it sounded. For Nelson, his 6th home run of the year, a 3-run home run on the first pitch.
He makes it look easy.
Gamble leads it off for the Mariners.
Maybe it is for him.
I got to say, the look on his face when he hit that home run was kind of like, yeah, another day.
It really was. I was thinking too, because it was such a towering fly ball. For most, that is caught probably on the track or just in front of the warning track. And for him, you know, it's probably 10 feet over the fence. That's the difference between somebody that's hitting 20 home runs and somebody hitting 40.
Yep.
Doing one again.
No surprise, Edwin Diaz getting loose.
Evens up 2 apiece. Gamble dropped a single into right field his last time up. Able to lay off. Bob Melvin, we've got a pitching change. Gamble aboard. Ryan Healy coming to the plate. Now the Mariners leading 5-3.
Desk, and we're hoping you're using the hashtag Where I Root. It's presented by Alaska Airlines, letting us know where you were cheering on the team. Ryan sends this one in. Isn't this true? The obligatory family photo. You have to. You get here and you have to do it. Then we've got Taylor also enjoying a night here at Safeco Field. Remember to use this hashtag Where I Root, presented by Alaska Airlines, and when you do, it gives us permission to use your photo. And Bethany sends this one, a little father-daughter game night here on May Day. Now, as for tomorrow, it's going to be James Paxton, the Maple Grove in effect here at Safeco Field, trying to pick up his second win of the season. He's going up against Brett Anderson, who will be making his first start of the season. TBA no longer. Guys, back to you.
That's right. Thank you, Angie. There's Merrill Petit up on the mound facing Ryan Healy. Gambled at first. Strike one.
And for Petit, 13 appearances on the year. ERA just over 3. 9 strikeouts. Hasn't walked anybody in 14 2/3. Opponents in 254. Fastball right around 89 miles an hour. Cutter, curve, changeup.
Petit working on back-to-back days. He worked yesterday. First time in 5 days he'd been up on the mound. Two on the former A. The 1-2. Check swing. Throw down to first. Gamble safe. They say that Healy went around though. One out.
Let's see if D. Gordon can get his 5th hit of the night. 4 for 4. Stolen base and has scored a run.
Now D has become just the 3rd Mariners player in club history to record 4 hits in back-to-back games. I don't know about you guys. I would have never guessed the last to do it. You'd think that if you're going to get 8 hits in the span of 2 days, that you would need something off the knuckles to go your way. You can leg it out, get to first base.
Sure.
Kendrys Morales is not that guy.
No, he can just hit.
That's right. Ichiro had done it before that. It's a pretty short list of guys. 3 in total.
Start of the game, his batting average was at 309. He's now at 333.
Keep an eye on Gamble. D could tie his career best 5 hits. He's done that twice. Been a little while. 2014, 2015. There goes Gamble. Gonna run on, but a foul back. Now I don't know. I would think that this would be pretty elite company. It's kind of tough to stroll through 100 years of Major League history, more than that. But D has a chance to pick up his 3rd career 5-hit game, all with a different team. That's showing you something there, Danny?
Yeah.
Dodgers, Marlins, and maybe tonight with the Mariners. Right side and into right field. 5-hit night, D. Gordon. He has tied a career best.
Now you're going to have to find out how unique it is. Again, through the right side. He's able to get a base hit through the right side a couple of times tonight.
Good news is you got Gamble to third, and the Mariners are in business.
Segura 0 for 2. He's walked and scored, and a sacrifice fly, so he's picked up an RBI.
Strike 1. He, by the way, has now lifted his average to 339, up 30 points.
Speaking of averages, putting the runners in scoring position, Segura started today an even 500.
After they're taking a hit. Checking with D. There goes D. 0-2.
That's when you're 5 for 5, you're going to get a little dirty.
He did pick up his 11th stolen base back in the 6th inning. Gamble to third, Gordon at first. He goes again. Throw to second. Safe at second base. Well, 5 hits and a couple of steals tonight for D. Gordon.
He is exciting to watch. Not only with the bat, but with his legs, getting that stolen base. I think it was a pretty good pitch to throw on. But he just gets such a good jump and steals it easily.
And it's an important stolen base, too, because you take the double play out of the equation. Infield is in now. Well, it's going to cut down on the infielder's range, having to play up.
He got even dirtier.
Two and two.
He's really working Segura way hard.
That looked like they were trying to go to the inside part of the plate. Missed his location, ended up out over the plate. Jason Bradford also getting loose in the pen with Diaz.
Second and third for the Mariners. The 2-2. Broken back. Petit stumbles on it. Throws to first. Able to get Segura. Gamble scores. Right down the dugout steps. It's 6-3 Mariners. Gordon into third.
Second RBI for Segura. Good play by Petit on the mound. How about that one, Dan? Catches it behind him. Thought about going to the plate. Didn't have time. Gamble takes off on contact.
Yeah, I don't think they work on that particular mechanic in spring training. They work on the comebacker, but not the one behind the back like that. But that was quite a play.
Yeah.
Strike one to Robbie. Right to Simeon. A shortstop on at first base to end the inning. But a big run comes home. It's a 3-run lead for the Mariners. We go to the ninth. Here comes Edwin Diaz.
had a walk and they gave up a double. Both those guys ended up scoring. Just the 3 hits, though, for him. 101 pitches. Really good curveball tonight. I thought he mixed it up well, Dan.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the curveball was effective for him, but also the two-seamer, able to control both sides of the plate with that two-seamer, and then that really opens up the curveball and the changeup. And you see the curveball there, the two-seamer on that outside part of the plate for the strikeout. Can't forget about that play by Kyle Seager to start that double play. Felix loving that.
It's always nice to have a little defense behind you.
Always helps a little bit.
I don't know if you've seen Edwin Diaz pitch yet this year, but it's been special.
Wow.
Or Edwin, his fastball 97 to 100 with a hard slider.
And to me, you know, obviously everybody loves the fastball and the velocity. As you see his numbers there, this will be his 15th appearance. 11 saves in 11 opportunities, 27 strikeouts to the 7 walks.
About an 0.43 batting average.
That's pretty good. But you know, we talk about his fastball and it is exceptional, but really I think he's been able to find his slider and been able to use that so effectively, and that's been a big key for him.
The 1-2 to Davis, swing and a miss. What else would you expect?
I think the thing for me, as you see this fastball at 97, is with his slider. I love what he's been able to do with it this year, and that is the most of the time it is down and out of the strike zone, and he's getting hitters to chase it because of that big fastball.
Absolutely. It's been the location of that and being able to repeat that pitch over and over again, where it starts in the strike zone and breaks just out of the strike zone.
On Olsen. Diaz, of course, looking to add on to his major league leading 11 saves. Edwin's strikeouts per 9 have plummeted to 17. 2-2.
A couple of fastballs, 96, but in that lower part of the strike zone. Just been able to repeat that delivery over and over again and pound that bottom part of the zone.
Hader barely misses full count. One on for Matt Chapman. Chapman 6 home runs this year. Strike one. Ahead 0-2 with the slider.
There it is.
Again, the location of it, it's just been exceptional with the slider.
The 1-2. Popped up Segura. Mariners shortstop handles it for out number 2. from a series opening win tonight against the A's. A 98 inside might warm up Marquand a little bit. Fastball strike, 2-1 on Cannon. Slider floating up above the zone, 3-1 now. Couple of walks. Anything you've seen on the walks, Dan?
I think it's, I mean, to me, it's just this fastball's kind of riding up and into the right-handed hitters, just kind of losing it off that side of the plate. Maybe getting a little rotational with his delivery.
A tying run at the plate, Chad Pinder.
Very good slider right there to start off the at-bat.
Punctuated from Edwin Diaz tonight. The Mariners have won 8 of their last 11.
And they continue to swing the bat, score runs. We saw it on the road trip, and I see them first game home go out and score 6 runs in this one.
Absolutely, and the bullpen continues to be stellar, Mike. See a good outing from Felix to start it, but then it's Vincent, Nicasio, Diaz. It's been a winning combination for the Mariners.
What a way to start the homestand after a day off and a fantastic road trip. Mariners win it tonight, 6-3 the final. Mariners post game presented by Alaska Airlines. It begins right now. Val, Bradham, guys, take it away.
Aaron will do. You saw D. Gordon running off the field. He had 5 hits, more than the athlete.